Hello, people. Nobody here. Welcome to a bit of an experiment. As you can see, this is my very first project. It's going to be a little rough. I'm, in fact, recording this on my phone, and all of my footage is just screen recorded from my PlayStation. I hope you can stick it through despite the quality. Today I'll be doing a ranking of the regions in Elden Ring. As FromSoft's first attempt at an open world, I was skeptical of the game before it was released. I remember every time I learned something about the world, I felt a mix of both excitement and dread. I'm not exactly a fan of open world games, you see. Despite that, I was pleasantly surprised by Elden Ring's world quality. Without further ado, let's get right into the ranking. Kicking off the list, we've got Deep-Root Depths, which, in my opinion, has zero redeeming qualities. It's filled with some of the most obnoxious enemies in the game, has little to do, and most of all, the area is just bland. I really don't have much to say about this place. It's one of the few places in Elden Ring I can say that I just don't want to go to. Next up, we've got Ainzel River. I believe the quality gap between this region and Deep-Root Depths is astronomical. There's a whole lot more to do in this region, like exploring Noxtella, the Lake of Rot, and Ronnie's Quest. The best part of the region, at least to me, is the Lake of Rot. I know, I'm ridiculous. For real, though, I love the atmosphere of the area, and the Grand Cloister is a great set piece. I do concede that running around in the Rot isn't exactly fun, but it's a very unique place, and I think the game is better with it than without. Noxtella, the second Eternal City, is also second to Nokron in quality. It's a beautiful location, though, and the layout is quite good. The cavern section isn't exactly fun to explore, though. Too many ants. Overall, Ainzel is already taking us out of what I'd consider to be bad areas and now into average quality. Capping off our bottom three, we've got the Siofra River. That's right, all the underground regions are at the bottom half of the list. Unfortunate. I really wish I enjoyed the underground regions more, but I find them kinda underwhelming. That said, Siofra did provide an unforgettable experience the first time I entered. I mean, who wouldn't find it magical to go underground only to be met by a beautiful night sky over a lake? In a cave. Siofra is also where Nokron is found, and exploring your first Eternal City is a great time because of the new enemies, the architecture, and I love the Crucible Knight encounters in the Aqueduct. Oh yeah, there's also Mohg's side of Siofra, hidden away until near the end of the game. The bloody lake and the temple above it are truly a sight to behold. Getting ambushed by giant spirit skeletons is something I won't forget anytime soon. Honestly, I don't particularly like playing through that section because of the enemies, but Mohg is my favorite boss, so I tolerate it. Siofra really is an unforgettable location, but on repeat playthroughs, I can't really say it's the most riveting content in the game. Not even close. Limgrave, the nostalgia of my first playthrough. Honestly though, what a great start to the game. It's not too complicated to traverse, it's got lots to do, and it's even got some of the best legacy dungeons in the game. Seriously, Castle Stormvale and Morn are awesome locations. Speaking of Morn, I love the entirety of the Weeping Peninsula. Rain is my favorite weather for atmosphere, and the Mausoleum area is one of my favorite overworld locations in the game. Other good stuff is the amount of characters you meet here and how the world really feels alive, as generic a compliment as it is. Let's not forget the geography changing, and by that I mean a large hole being smashed in the ground. It was a nice surprise that the world would have dynamic elements. However, after 4 playthroughs, I find Limgrave to be really boring. It's kinda sad and it prevents me from wanting to play through the game again. Right in the middle of the ranking, we've got the mountaintops. I see a lot of hate for this region, and I don't really get it. The mountaintops have the largest number of unique dungeons, after all. There's the mines with Estelle 2.0, the frozen cavern with the Golden Order Greatsword, and the cave with Godskin Duo Light. I think it's awesome how much variety there is in the mountaintops. The consecrated snowfield is pretty cool too, albeit pretty empty, aside from the entrances to Haligtree and Mogwin Palace. There's also Castle Sol, which is my favorite minor dungeon. One of my favorite parts of Elden Ring is the journey to the peak of the mountain. I enjoy the build-up, and once you finally reach the Giant's Forge, you get an amazing story moment. Melena's sacrifice or your incineration, both amazing cutscenes. This place is great from story, gameplay, and aesthetic perspectives, if you ask me. The only thing I really dislike about this region is the overuse of Deathbirds and Erdtree avatars. Most regions have one of each. They're the worst bosses in the game, so did you really need to have two of each? Or three, I guess, for the avatars. One of them duplicates. Heading into the top three, we've got Altus Plateau. I'm going to be real with you. Altus made it here majorly in part of Mount Gelmir, which on its own is my favorite location in the game. That said, I do actually really enjoy most of Altus. The only part I actively dislike is the area with the lake. It's just boring and I have nothing to say about it. On the other hand, the Windmill Village is one of the most memorable places in the overworld. The roads to the capital are really exciting to follow, and let's not forget about the Mistwood, a pretty spooky place. The Mirage Tower is neat, and the church where Yura's quest ends is pretty memorable. Shaded Castle is a cool dungeon. Of course, there had to be a Poison Swamp Castle, right? Mount Gelmir stands above all of what I've mentioned before, though. The journey to Volcano Manor is amazing. The military outposts, the frenzied soldiers, the falling star beast. I could ramble about it all forever, but I want to keep this short. I just think the environmental storytelling is at its best in Gelmir, and following the path from the bottom to the top is a great experience. In second place, we've got Liurnia. This is one of the most beautiful locations in the game. It's got my favorite legacy dungeon, and discovering Three Sisters is really cool because, accidentally stumbling upon a very important location is awesome. So why is it not number one? About that, I don't really like the lake section of Liurnia, despite it being, named for it. It's a pretty large portion of the map, and it's extremely empty. Beauty can only get you so far. This area's biggest strength is definitely the variety of legacy dungeons, though. Caria Manor, Raya Lucaria, the Ruined Precipice, all of them are pretty great. My favorite part about Liurnia's overworld is definitely the section before the Grand Lift. It might be Stockholm Syndrome because I farmed the Cuckoo Knights for their armor for 2 hours, but the defenses before the lift are really fun to go through for me. There's also the Moonlight Altar, which doesn't have a ton to do, but it's pretty cool to be rewarded with a whole new area to explore after completing a quest line. I have surprisingly little to say about this region, despite how much I love it. Finally, we reach the top spot. The wasteland that is Caelid is without a doubt my favorite region in the game. From story to exploration, I love everything about this rotten hellscape. I find the Swamp of Ionia to be the most striking landmark in the game. Its horrific beauty as the centerpiece of Caelid is just unmatched. Caelid actually has quite a few great landmarks. Gerank's Temple, Celia, Red Maiden Castle, the Great Jar, Grail. There's also the giant skeletons everywhere. Another thing I love about this region is that there are at least 2 ways you can accidentally get here. The trapped chest in Limgrave is infamous at this point, but how I ended up here was the Siofra Well. Dragon Barrow is a good section of Caelid because you can see that while it's still affected by the rot, it is clear that it hasn't fully taken hold yet. For example, there's normal wildlife and foliage. I haven't even mentioned the lore yet. Caelid has some of my favorite stories in the game, like the Battle of Ionia, which caused Caelid to become what it is, Radahn's fall and the Redmane's struggle against the rot, Gowry's puppeteering of Millicent, the implication that Farum Azula used to be located in Caelid. I really should make a full video focused on this region one day. Well, there you have it. A nobody's opinion on Elden Ring's regions. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you thought in the comments. Criticism would be greatly appreciated. Well, thanks for watching. Have a good day, and assuming I've hooked you with this, I will see you next time.